Captain Veltar gripped the armrest of his command chair as alarms blared throughout the bridge of peaceful dawn. In his 40 years serving the Galactic Council, he had witnessed the final moments of countless civilizations. Plague worlds where disease consumed everything. Ice planets where entire species froze to death. Desert worlds baked sterile by dying suns. But Terra 3 was different. This world was actively hostile in every possible way. "Captain, the distress signal is getting stronger," reported Navigation Officer Quillnex, his blue-scaled fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "But sir, our scans show Terra 3 is still classified as a death world. Nothing should be alive down there." Veltar studied the data streaming across his screen. Terra 3 sat in what galactic scientists called the Chaos Zone, too close to its star for ice, too far for comfortable warmth. Massive storms raged across its surface. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere contained deadly gases that would kill most species within minutes. According to their records, no intelligent life had ever evolved on such a brutal world. "Sir, we're picking up multiple contacts near the Kepler mining station," Quillnex continued, his voice rising with concern. "These ships, they're flying straight into the asteroid field." The main viewscreen flickered to life, showing a sight that made every alien on the bridge freeze in terror. Dozens of massive space rocks, some larger than their entire ship, tumbled through space in chaotic patterns. The mining station hung trapped in the middle, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere into the void. But what shocked them most were the small, boxy ships diving between the deadly asteroids like they were playing some kind of game. "Are they insane?" whispered Communications Officer Trendai, her tentacles curling in fear. "Those rocks could crush them instantly." The human ships moved with purpose, weaving through gaps that seemed impossible to navigate. Their vessels looked primitive compared to the sleek council ships, all sharp angles and bare metal, like they were built for war instead of exploration. But somehow, they danced through the chaos with deadly precision. "Captain, look at their flight patterns," said Science Officer Kexmani, pulling up tactical displays. "They're not running away. They're moving toward the station. They're trying to rescue someone." Veltar watched in amazement as one human ship slipped between two colliding asteroids, the rocks missing its hull by mere meters. Another ship used its engines to push a smaller asteroid away from the station, sacrificing its own safety to clear a path. These beings were risking everything for people they might not even know. "Sir, incoming transmission," Trendai announced, her voice shaking. "One of the human vessels is hailing us." "Put it through," Veltar ordered, straightening in his chair. The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that was calm, steady, and completely unafraid. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Rescue Corps. We've got 47 miners trapped in Sector 7 of Kepler Station. The structure is failing fast. Can you assist with evacuation?" Veltar stared at the tactical display showing the impossible rescue operation. The human ships were literally flying suicide missions, yet this Commander Morrison spoke like he was asking for directions to the nearest spaceport. There was no panic in his voice, no fear. Just determination. "Commander Morrison," Veltar replied slowly, "our sensors indicate the asteroid field is completely unstable. Those rocks could shift at any moment. Your ships will be crushed." A pause. Then Morrison's voice came back, and Veltar could almost hear the smile in it. "Copy that, Captain. We appreciate the warning. But we don't leave people behind. That's not who we are." As if to prove his point, another human ship executed an impossible maneuver, spinning between three tumbling asteroids to reach the station's emergency docking port. The ship's hull scraped against rock, sending sparks flying, but the pilot kept flying. "What kind of species does this?" Quillnex whispered. Veltar had no answer. In all his years of first contact protocols, he had never encountered beings who would willingly fly into certain death for strangers. The humans weren't just brave, they were operating by rules the galaxy had never seen before. "Sir, should we assist?" asked his tactical officer. Veltar looked at the chaos on screen, then at his own crew's terrified faces. His people were explorers and diplomats, not warriors. They had emergency procedures for everything, and every single procedure said the same thing: retreat to safety and call for backup. But the humans weren't retreating. They were charging forward into impossible odds, and somehow, they were winning. The airlock hissed open, and the first human stepped aboard Peaceful Dawn. Dr. Hillman rushed forward with his medical scanner, expecting to find beings on the edge of death after their impossible rescue mission. What he discovered instead made his 4 hearts skip beats. "Captain," Dr. Hillman whispered into his communicator, his voice trembling with disbelief, "you need to see this immediately." The human rescue team filled the medical bay, and they looked nothing like what the aliens expected. These weren't the fragile, dying creatures they were used to finding on hostile worlds. Kate Wilson sat on the examination table, casually rolling up her sleeve while chatting with her teammates. Her exposed arm revealed a roadmap of old scars, some thin and precise, others thick and jagged. Dr. Hillman ran his scanner over her skin and nearly dropped the device. "These markings, you have bone fractures that healed incorrectly, then re-healed stronger than before. Your immune system shows adaptations to at least 40 different toxins. Your muscle density is 3 times what should be possible for your body weight." Kate glanced at the scars with the same interest someone might show an old photo. "Oh yeah, that one's from when I fell off my bike into a thorn bush when I was 8. That jagged one? Rock climbing accident when I was 15. Broke my arm in 2 places, but hey, it works better now than before." The alien doctor's scanner began beeping frantically as it detected more anomalies. "Your blood contains antibodies for diseases that don't exist on any civilized world. Your bone density suggests you grew up in gravity that should have crushed you. And these scars on your torso. Appendix surgery," Kate said with a shrug. "Had to cut it out before it exploded. Pretty standard stuff where I come from." Across the medical bay, engineer Tom Bradley had opened an access panel and was elbow-deep in the ship's power systems. Chief Engineer Zoltak watched in growing horror as the human pulled out tools that looked like primitive hammers and metal sticks. "You cannot repair quantum energy matrices with those crude instruments," Zoltak protested. "Those systems require precision calibration down to the molecular level." Tom looked up from his work, grease smearing his forehead. "Yeah, I figured. But sometimes you just need to give things a good whack in the right spot." He tapped something with his wrench, and suddenly the power readings jumped back to normal. "There we go. Good as new." Science Officer Nexpremi floated over to Kate, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence as she processed what she was seeing. "Your world," she said slowly, "it actively attempted to terminate your existence." Kate laughed, the sound echoing off the medical bay walls. "Every single day. We've got hurricanes that can level entire cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that rain fire from the sky. Winters that freeze you solid, summers that cook you alive. And that's before you even get to the fun stuff." "Fun stuff?" Dr. Hillman asked weakly. "Oh yeah. We've got animals that hunt in packs and can run faster than our vehicles. Snakes with venom that stops your heart in minutes. Spiders the size of dinner plates. Plants that can kill you just by touching them. Diseases that jump between species like they're playing hopscotch." The aliens exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Their own homeworlds were carefully maintained paradise planets where the biggest threat might be a mild rainstorm or a flower that smelled bad. Tom wiped his hands on his coveralls and joined the conversation. "Don't forget the weather," he added cheerfully. "Last month we had tornadoes, floods, and a blizzard all in the same week. Lost power for 3 days, but we just fired up the backup generator and kept going." "You speak of planetary catastrophes as if they were minor inconveniences," Nexpremi observed, her translator struggling with the concept. "Well, yeah," Kate replied, flexing her newly bandaged arm. "I mean, what else are you going to do? Sit around and complain. Life's tough, so you get tougher. My grandmother always said that what doesn't kill you just hasn't finished the job yet, so you better be ready for round 2. Dr. Hillman's scanner beeped again as he examined another team member. This male, Kevin Torres, shows evidence of surviving multiple cardiac events, severe burns, and what appears to be partial lung collapse. Kevin looked up from where he was helping Tom with the repairs. Yeah, that was a rough summer. Got caught in a forest fire, had to run 15 miles through smoke to get to safety. Lungs didn't work right for months, but they figured it out eventually. The alien medical officer sat down heavily, his multiple limbs trembling. On my world, any one of those injuries would require immediate life support and months of recovery. You treat them like they were paper cuts. That's the thing about growing up on Earth, Kate said, standing up and testing her arm. It doesn't give you a choice. You either adapt or you die, and humans are really, really good at adapting. We've been doing it for millions of years. The Grand Diplomatic Hall on Haven Station buzzed with careful conversation as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the most important peace talks in decades. The Torlon Empire and Keth Republic had been locked in a Cold War for over 50 years, and today might finally bring an end to the conflict. Commander Jake Morrison sat at the human delegation table, looking uncomfortable in his formal diplomatic uniform. His team was there as neutral observers, since humans were still new to galactic politics. Lisa Rodriguez flipped through her data pad while Mike Chen adjusted his translator device. They looked bored, like students waiting for class to end. Captain Veltar watched from the observation deck as Ambassador Quintal of the Torlon Empire stood to address the assembly. The ceremonial chamber stretched 3 stories high, with floating platforms and elegant alien architecture designed to inspire peace and cooperation. Then everything went wrong. The first explosion came from the lower level, sending delegates diving for cover behind their ornate chairs. Smoke filled the air as armed extremists in combat gear burst through multiple entrances, their weapons already firing. The beautiful diplomatic hall transformed into a war zone in seconds. Emergency Protocol 7, announced the station's AI. All delegates proceed to designated safe zones immediately. The alien representatives did exactly what their training taught them. They activated personal shields, called for security, and began orderly evacuations to reinforced bunkers. It was textbook crisis management, logical, organized, and completely predictable. But the humans did something different. Commander Morrison was moving before the first alien even reached their panic button. Lisa, East Corridor. Mike, civilians to the maintenance level. Kevin, you're with me on the main floor. His voice was calm but carried absolute authority. The transformation was instant and shocking. One moment Morrison had been a polite diplomat making small talk about trade agreements. Now he moved like a predator, his eyes scanning the chaos with deadly focus. Lisa grabbed the heavy conference table and flipped it on its side with strength that surprised even her teammates. The elegant furniture became a fortress wall in seconds. Cover here, she shouted to a group of terrified alien delegates. Stay low and keep your heads down. Mike was already herding civilians toward the maintenance shafts, his diplomatic smile replaced by the focused expression of someone who had done this before. He grabbed a decorative statue from a display case and tested its weight. This'll work, he muttered, turning the priceless art into a weapon. The extremists expected panic and confusion. Instead, they found themselves facing humans who moved through violence like it was a dance they had practiced their whole lives. Morrison used his dress shoe to trip one attacker, then grabbed the fallen weapon with movements so smooth they looked rehearsed. How are they doing this? Captain Veltar whispered to his security chief, watching from the observation deck. The humans weren't just fighting, they were winning. Lisa had turned the diplomatic reception area into a fortress using nothing but furniture and wall decorations. She directed scared delegates to safety while simultaneously laying down covering fire with a weapon she had taken from the first attacker she defeated. Mike discovered that the station's emergency lighting system could be rewired to blind the extremists. Within minutes, he had turned the elegant chamber into a maze of shadows and bright flashes that only the humans seemed able to navigate. But what shocked the aliens most was how the humans treated their enemies. When Kevin found an injured extremist, he immediately began applying first aid, even while bullets flew overhead. "You're treating the people who just tried to kill us," stammered Ambassador Quintal, cowering behind Lisa's improvised barricade. Kevin didn't look up from bandaging the wounded attacker's leg. "He's hurt. That makes him a patient, not an enemy." His hands worked with practiced efficiency while his teammates continued fighting around him. The humans moved as a unit, communicating with hand signals and shared glances that spoke volumes. They had transformed the diplomatic hall into their battlefield, but they fought with rules the galaxy had never seen before. Morrison coordinated their movements while simultaneously protecting non-combatants and treating wounded enemies. Lisa held defensive positions that should have been impossible to maintain. Mike turned the station's own systems into weapons while Kevin saved lives on both sides of the conflict. "Sir," the security chief finally responded to Veltar's earlier question, his voice filled with awe and fear, "I believe they have been preparing for war their entire evolutionary history. Every human instinct, every reflex, every decision tree, it all leads to survival through controlled violence." By the time station security arrived, the humans had cleared 3 entire levels of hostiles and established secure zones for all the civilians. The extremist attack had lasted 17 minutes. The humans had ended it in 12. The warning klaxons screamed across Haven Station as 12 massive pirate vessels dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons already charging for attack. Captain Veltar watched the tactical display with growing dread as the enemy fleet spread into attack formation. Each pirate cruiser was twice the size of his own ship, bristling with enough firepower to level a small moon. "Incoming transmission from the lead vessel," reported Communications Officer Trendai, her voice shaking. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a scarred alien face with cybernetic implants and cold, predatory eyes. "This is Captain Vexmore of the Crimson Fleet. You have exactly 10 minutes to surrender all valuables and prepare for boarding. Resist, and we will turn your station into space dust." The transmission cut off, leaving the diplomatic chamber in stunned silence. Haven Station had minimal defenses, a few patrol ships and some outdated weapon platforms. Against 12 heavy cruisers, they might as well have been throwing rocks at a battleship. Delegate Mortain of the Torlon Empire immediately activated his emergency communicator. "All ships, prepare for immediate surrender. Civilian safety is our primary concern. We must follow established protocols for pirate encounters." Around the chamber, other alien delegates nodded in agreement. Their faces showed resignation mixed with fear, but also acceptance. This was how things worked in the galaxy. When pirates came with overwhelming force, you surrendered, paid the ransom, and hoped they kept their word about not killing anyone. Commander Morrison looked at the alien delegates like they had just suggested jumping out an airlock. "Surrender?" His voice carried genuine confusion, as if he couldn't understand the word. "We've got 3,000 civilians on this station." "Commander, please be reasonable," pleaded Delegate Mortain, his blue skin pale with terror. "They have 12 heavy cruisers. We have nothing. It's completely hopeless." But the humans were already moving with that same deadly purpose the aliens had witnessed during the extremist attack. Lisa Rodriguez was at a communication panel, her fingers flying across holographic controls. "All civilian areas, this is emergency command. Begin evacuation to inner hull sections. Move quickly but stay calm." Tom Bradley had disappeared entirely, but they could hear him working in the maintenance tunnels below. The sound of welding and electrical work echoed through the station's walls. He was building something, though nobody knew what. Morrison studied the tactical display with the focused intensity of a predator sizing up prey. "Lisa, how long do we need for full civilian evacuation?" 20 minutes minimum, she replied without looking up from her controls. "Tom, what's your status on those surprises?" Tom's voice crackled through the comm system from somewhere deep in the station's guts. Give me 15 minutes, and these pirates are going to have a very bad day. Dr. Hillman watched this exchange with growing amazement. You cannot seriously be considering fighting 12 heavy cruisers with a diplomatic station. Kevin Torres looked up from where he was organizing medical supplies. Doc, you don't understand. We're not fighting 12 heavy cruisers. We're protecting 3,000 people. That's completely different. The alien delegates stared at him in confusion. To them, the tactical situation was identical. But somehow, the humans saw it as two entirely different problems with two entirely different solutions. 8 minutes into the pirates' ultimatum, young Danny Chin appeared on the command deck. At 18 years old, he looked like a child compared to the seasoned adults around him. His face was pale but determined as he approached Commander Morrison. Sir, I've been looking at the tactical situation, Danny said quietly. That defense platform in Section C is damaged but still functional. If someone manually pilots it into their flagship, it would disable their command structure. Morrison studied the tactical display, understanding immediately what the young man was suggesting. The defense platform was essentially a flying bomb now, too damaged for remote operation but still capable of movement. Flying it into the enemy flagship would be a suicide mission. Danny, Morrison said carefully, that platform's navigation is shot. It would have to be piloted manually, and there's no way to eject once you're committed to the run. The young man nodded. I know, sir. But if we take out their command ship, the rest might scatter. It could save everyone on the station. Dr. Hillman felt his heart stop. He's just a child, he whispered, unable to comprehend what he was hearing. Morrison looked at Danny Chin for a long moment, seeing not a child but something the galaxy had never understood. No, he replied, his voice filled with pride and heartbreak. He's human. And humans don't abandon their own. The pirates' ultimatum expired, and their first barrage hammered Haven Station's shields. But they weren't prepared for what happened next. Tom's improvised explosives turned their boarding shuttles into scrap metal. Lisa's civilian evacuation had cleared the outer sections just as the station's modified systems began fighting back in ways that defied every known tactical manual. And through it all, a young human flew his damaged platform through impossible enemy fire, guided by nothing but determination and the absolute certainty that 3,000 lives were worth more than his own. When the smoke cleared, 4 pirate cruisers were destroyed or disabled, and the rest of the Crimson Fleet was retreating at maximum speed, unable to comprehend how a diplomatic station had just handed them their worst defeat in decades. Captain Veltar sat alone in his private quarters aboard Peaceful Dawn, staring at a blank report screen that had been mocking him for 3 hours. How do you explain the impossible? How do you describe beings who rewrote everything the galaxy thought it knew about survival, courage, and sacrifice? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was scheduled to begin in 1 hour, and representatives from 47 different worlds were waiting for his report. They expected another routine first contact summary, species designation, threat assessment, recommended protection protocols. Instead, Veltar was about to tell them that everything they believed about the universe was wrong. He began typing, deleting, and typing again. The words felt inadequate, but the galaxy needed to understand what they had discovered. Council members, he finally wrote, in my 40 years of service, I have catalogued the rise and fall of hundreds of civilizations. I have watched species achieve greatness and others fade into extinction. But what I witnessed at Haven Station defies every principle we hold about intelligent life. The memories flooded back as he continued writing. The human rescue ships diving into the asteroid field without hesitation. Kate Wilson laughing about childhood injuries that would have killed any known species. Commander Morrison's confusion when aliens suggested surrender. Young Danny Chin flying into certain death with a smile on his face. Humanity is not another species requiring our protection, Veltar continued. They are the evolutionary product of a world so hostile that it forged beings who consider the impossible merely inconvenient. Their planet, Terra 3, or Earth as they call it, subjected them to every conceivable threat. predators that hunt in coordinated packs. Weather systems that can destroy entire continents. Diseases that jump between species. Geological events that reshape landscapes overnight. He paused, remembering Dr. Hillmon's medical scans. Every human carried scars from battles with their own world. Broken bones that healed stronger. Immune systems adapted to toxins that would kill most galactic species instantly. Muscle and bone density impossible under normal evolutionary pressure. Any other species would have been driven extinct by such conditions, he wrote. But humans did not merely survive their death world. They conquered it. More importantly, their hostile environment taught them something we never learned, that true survival means protecting others, even at the cost of your own life. The bridge door chimed, and Science Officer Nex Primi entered carrying a data pad thick with analysis reports. Captain, the preliminary studies are complete. You need to see this before your council presentation. She placed the pad on his desk, and Veltar scanned the findings with growing amazement. Human bone density was 3 times galactic average. Their muscle efficiency exceeded anything in known biology. Their cardiovascular systems could function under stresses that would kill most species. But the most shocking discovery was in their brain scans. Look at these neural pathways, Nex Primi pointed to complex patterns on the screen. Human brains are hardwired for threat assessment, tactical thinking, and rapid adaptation. They don't just react to danger, they anticipate it, plan for it, and overcome it. Every human is essentially a living weapon system optimized for survival in impossible conditions. Veltar added this data to his report, but the technical details didn't capture what really mattered. The humans weren't just physically superior, they operated by moral principles the galaxy had never encountered. During the pirate attack, he wrote, our protocols demanded immediate surrender to minimize casualties. This is logical, reasonable, and has saved countless lives throughout galactic history. But humans saw the situation differently. They didn't calculate odds or weigh tactical advantages. They saw people who needed protection, and that was enough. He remembered Morrison's words, we don't abandon our own. But the humans had extended that protection to every alien on the station, treating complete strangers like family members worth dying for. We have spent millennia avoiding death worlds, Veltar continued typing, believing them incapable of producing advanced civilization. We assumed that hostile environments could only create primitive, violent species unfit for galactic society. We were catastrophically wrong. The truth was almost too incredible to accept. Death worlds didn't produce random violent species, they created the ultimate survivors. Beings so adapted to overcome impossible odds that they made the impossible look routine. They don't simply fight, Veltar wrote. They protect. Their entire evolutionary history taught them that survival means ensuring others survive too. When faced with overwhelming odds, they don't calculate probability of success, they calculate what needs to be done to save everyone else. He finished the report with words that would change galactic civilization forever. Council members, the galaxy has found its guardians. We just never knew we were looking for them. I recommend immediate reclassification of humanity from protected species to guardian class. We should not be protecting them. They should be protecting us. The emergency council session lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, a newly discovered species would not receive protection status. Instead, humanity would be offered something unprecedented, the role of protector for the entire galaxy. The age of hiding from death worlds was over. The age of learning from their survivors had begun.